Thank you so much, everybody, for your willingness to be here. I know some of us are tuning in from maybe warmer places than others. I know Gary and many of others of us are tuning in from 2 degrees, somehow -16, which, if that's true, God bless you. So we're all coming over from different places in the world. We're coming from different traditions. We're coming from different philosophies. Apparently, one of us was coming in through the shower. So we're all coming in from very different places. But when we are here in circle, we are here together. We are one circle. We are transcending the barriers of space. And we are gathering here together with our hearts open and our minds open as well. So I know that not all of you know me. I do see some familiar faces. I recognize Johannes. I recognize Gary. I recognize Ginny. I recognize Garrett, of course, you. So I see some familiar faces and some new faces. So I'm really excited about that. But because I recognize that I'm a new face for many of you, I will introduce myself very briefly. So my name is Garrett Jackson. I am tuning in from Bloomington, Indiana, although I will soon be tuning in from Vancouver,
What's the weather
Washington.
look like out there?
Yes. Goodbye, Derek.
What's the
Thank you. So I will soon be.
Timing.
Well, it seemed that maybe he had a San Francisco background on him, so maybe he was closer to Vancouver than he is to Bloomington. Who knows?
Warming up the shower, so hey.
So I'll soon be tuning in from Vancouver, Washington. I'm very excited about that. But my journey began not in Washington nor in Bloomington, but began quite a long time ago. I actually began my spiritual practice by co-teaching Sunday school with my grandmother in our Presbyterian church when I was young. And I was very young, so it was probably helping in the loosest possible sense of the term. But I really grew up with this connection to who I called God and Jesus. And I, like many other teens, when I got into my early and mid teens, I started developing various mental health challenges. I developed anxiety, depression, various forms of obsessive compulsive disorder. And if you're hearing the plural on that and saying disorders, there's more than one obsessive compulsive type. Yes, there's actually many subtypes of obsessive compulsive disorder that can be very, very challenging for folks. So I was really struggling. And because I was struggling so much and I had this connection with God, I went out into nature in this place that I lived and loved and still love. And I said, I can't keep living like this. Please do something to change this. And for those of us that have been walking the path long enough, we know that when we put out a call to the universe, for better or for worse, we get a response. And so my mother, who had become a bit disaffected with the church that we were going to, she discovered that God was more in nature for her than in the church. She was taking psychic development courses. And so she introduced me to the concept of working with angelic beings. She gave me a book. She said, I don't know if this is going to help you or not, but here's a little information and see what happens. And I don't think she was expecting me to make a life out of it. But 10 years later, here we are. Ironically, I was introduced to working with the angels on July 4th of that year. And now I am working with the spirituality that is quite literally a path of personal freedom. So I studied working with angelic beings. John, out of here. Thank you. So, Darius, Garrett, do we know Darius Brookie?
Where is it?
Darius. They're not on camera, but there seems to possibly
Darius,
be.
can you go on camera real quick? Are you a Zoom bomber, Darius? Is this what you do for fun? What's your interest in shamanism, Darius?
I go to church.
Garrett, I think we're going to need to take some decisive action here. I do appreciate young people, but I'm not quite sure.
Dude, Darius, get out. Just leave.
Garrett, can we?
Yeah.
Garrett, kick this guy out.
If you're a Zoom bomber, I do appreciate that you're trying to have fun, but this is a group of people that's trying to heal. And so it's really time for you to leave. There are other Zooms going on. This is not appropriate. So please have some respect for others and just leave.
Garrett, I'm sorry that your feelings and your truth that you're sharing with us are being mistreated this way.
I recognize it's not about me, but I appreciate it, Michael. Thank you. So anyhow, so I learned how to work with the angels, and I learned how to work with angelic beings. And I was giving readings and different kinds of spiritual healing work around the world for 2 years. And then I got interested in this thing called shamanism. And again, for better or worse, when you put out a call to the universe for something, it responds. So I got connected with a teacher who was living in my area, and I ended up learning different shamanic healing ways with her, as well as different shamanic healing ways with other people in my area. And I became interested in teaching this work because I love this material so much. So in 2020, in the height of the COVID pandemic, I'll add, I graduated from Sandra Ingerman's 2-year teacher training in shamanic journeying, healing, and medicine for the earth. And now I teach this incredible body of work to people who wish to learn these methodologies as a manner of helping and healing others, yes, but also helping and healing themselves. So I would like to begin just a little bit before we get into real content, now that you know a little bit about me. I would like to bring us together here for a moment. We've had some wild energy in the group, and hopefully we will have no more of that wild energy. It might be better, Garrett, if I may suggest to just not let anybody else in. No more people.
The people that were here got booted and reported, so they can't come back in. So I think we should be safe having other people come in. If we start to get difficult people coming in over and over, I'll put a wall up.
Yeah, I would hope so. If it were me, and I'm not telling you how to run your Zoom, but if it were me, I would just let no one else in because I really don't want the people who are here trying to heal to have to endure any more of this. But I would like to have us come together a little bit. Let's take a moment, close our eyes, settle into wherever we are, and just take a few slow, deep breaths in and out through the nose. And as you breathe in, you're filling your belly first, followed by the lungs. And on the exhale, we're letting that go from the lungs and in the stomach. And let's allow life to breathe for us like this for just a moment or two. Knowing that as we breathe in this way, it sends a signal to our bodies that we are safe. And we recognize that in terms of ordinary space and time, we are coming from all over the world. But here we are one circle. And so perhaps in your mind's eye, you can perceive all those of us that are here sitting together in a circle. Whether we're here in linear time or we're tuning in from outside of linear time on a recording, we are one circle, one love, one heart. And as we breathe, let's experience the energy of our awareness and attention as we sit together, moving from our heads into our hearts. For the practice of shamanism can really not be understood as fully by the mind as it can by the heart. The helping spirits with whom the shaman works so closely works with them through the heart. So as we breathe, perhaps we experience the heart expanding, growing beyond the outlines of our physical body. And on the exhale, coming back to center. all of our helping spirits, those compassionate divine beings that work and walk with us through the world. Garrett,
I'm back, motherfucker! Sakwadik.
All right, I will put a wall up. Sorry.
Yeah. Please, no more people. Do not let anybody else in. So as we breathe, our hearts are expanding, moving beyond the outlines of our body. On the exhale, the heart comes back to center. And as we rest where we are, we know that our helping spirits are walking with us and helping us to experience the deep richness that is available to us here tonight. So with a smile on your face and in your heart, our eyes open again, and we return to circle. Welcome back, everybody. So we've had some interesting interruptions, but one of the things that I find is that even the most annoying of intrusions might hold a lesson for us. So although we will not be letting anybody else in, we will be considering, is there a lesson here for me? Is there something for me to get out of that? So there are three major topics I want to talk about tonight. Of course, the title of our time together is The Shaman's Journey to the Future, Accessing Evolved Descendants for Personal and Collective Healing. So that is going to be the major focus, but there are going to be three areas that we walk through together as we explore this subject. First, I do want to introduce us to the concept of shamanic journeying, because shamanic journeying is really how we're going to be doing our work together. We're then going to do our group journey into the future to meet with these evolved descendants. And then, as is standard for the Freethinker Institute gatherings, we will have ample time for question and answer. If you have sat in circle with me before, you know I love questions. I want you to ask your questions, because if you have that question, someone else in the group might have that exact same question. And we want to learn together. So you actually help the group learn by bringing your questions to all of us. I do want to begin by talking a little bit about the shamanic journey, because again, that is the central element to our time together. Before we understand what shamanic journeying is, I want to tell you what shamanism is. There are many different definitions of what a shaman is. And so my definition is not the final word, but it is my personal definition and the operational one we will be using here. To me, a shaman is a person who alters their journeys of a spiritual nature into another reality. And so when we say an altered state of consciousness, shamans may use, yes, in some parts of the world, vision plants, but we have also found that monotonous sounds, such as monotonous rattling, drumming, singing, chanting, can move the brain from that beta brainwave that we're all in throughout the course of our day down into what we call the theta range. And it's in that theta brainwave that we can perceive what is normally hidden to us in our ordinary state of consciousness. So we can journey into these unseen realms to work with these compassionate spirits. And those are the partners of the shaman. These beings who I call helping spirits, or you can call helping compassionate spirits, these are beings that help the shaman. These are spirits who live in the different worlds of the spiritual realm that may be power animals, so they may take the form of an animal. They may be a religious figure such as Jesus or Buddha or Krishna. They might be ancestral beings that transcended after their departure from this realm and wish to help us again. They may be plants, trees, different features of the landscape. So there's an incredible wealth of spirits with who the shaman can work to access guidance, healing, and support for themselves and others. I won't give you a whole rundown of what shamans do, because that could take another 2 hours in and of itself. But what I will say is that Marseille Eliade, who wrote the brilliant book behind me entitled Shamanism, Archaic Techniques of Ecstasy, which in a lot of ways is the Encyclopedia Britannica of shamanism. Mr. Eliade's journey, or the shamanic soul flight. And in the shamanic journey, or the shamanic soul flight, the shaman in that altered state of consciousness goes into what we would call the spirit world, what the Celts might call the other world, what you could call the unseen realms. For those of you that rode the alternative wave back in the 60s, you might have heard Mr. Carlos Castaneda call it non-ordinary reality. And so that is the term that I use to describe this other world, non-ordinary reality. Although, again, we could call it the other side, we could call it the hidden realms, spirit world, what have you. Now, in the spirit realms, across the world, it is seen that there are three distinct worlds that make up that realm. And I'll back up just a moment and say that as the shaman is journeying into other realities, working with helping spirits, what Anupriya pointed out is quite accurate. Shamans around the world work in many different ways. And that in itself implies that shamanism exists around the world, which it does. The late great anthropologist Hank Busselman pointed out that virtually the figure of the shaman is known in virtually all the world's cultures. And the shamanic journey is a distinguishing feature of shamanism around the world, cross-culturally. So in my work and the work of my colleagues on shamanicteachers.com, when we are talking about shamanism, when we are talking about the shamanic journey, when we are talking about shamanic practices and the shamanic worldview, we are not talking about the shamanic understandings of one culture over here or another culture over here. In other words, we are not appropriating the cultures that are not our own. What we are doing is looking for those fundamental underlying commonalities and themes that exist in shamanic practices worldwide, the shamanic journey being one. Now, another commonality worldwide is the shamanic worldview, which says that in this spiritual realm, there are three distinct worlds. I'm not going to lecture too much on what those worlds are commonly experienced to be and kind of the intricacies of those. But what I can share is that we will be focusing on one of those worlds tonight. That is the world in the middle, what we aptly call the middle world. In shamanism, those three worlds are the upper world, the middle world, and the lower world. The upper and lower worlds are a bit off the subject for what we're talking about this evening. What we're focused on is the middle world. So I do want to briefly describe that. The middle world is what you could call non-ordinary reality to hear. In other words, it's the spiritual aspect of everything that we see around us. So when we are in our ordinary state of consciousness, our beta brainwave, you can look around, you can perceive the things going on here in the environment. I can see all of you. You can see my blanket in the back. We can all see some wild Zoom bombers. We can see our devices that we're using to tune in. These are the things, this is ordinary reality, the things that we perceive in our ordinary state of consciousness. But when our brain waves slow into that theta brainwave, in other words, into a shamanic state of consciousness, we can perceive those shamanic realms. We can perceive that spirit realm. And so if I was to alter my state of consciousness through repetitive sound now, I could on which I live. I could speak to the trees outside, or the bamboo plant I have, or to the spirit of my home, the spirit of the weather, the spirit of the sun, any compassionate beings that live on my land, because as someone very aptly pointed out in the beginning, the shamanic worldview holds that everything that is alive. And that means you and I are alive. Hopefully, I don't see anybody that seems to contradict that opinion. But we are all alive. Of course, our animals are alive, but it goes further. The plants are alive. The rocks are alive. Your sacred tools, your drums and rattles, those are alive. Your house, alive. Your car, alive. And the shaman does not arrive at that conclusion through blind belief. In fact, belief has very little to do with shamanism. Shamanism is a path of firsthand experience. It's one thing to talk about shamanism, it's another thing to experience it. And so the shaman comes to this conclusion that everything that is alive, not through fantasy, but through experiencing the soul and spirit that lives in all things. So in the middle world, we can interact with all the brilliant spirits that live here in nature. If we do this journey into the spiritual realms, we are no longer bound by ordinary reality, physical world constraints. We can travel somewhere in our world in just a matter of seconds. I could journey to Thailand right now if I was in my altered state of consciousness, and so could you. But because we are not bound by the linear laws of time, nor the physical laws of space, in the middle world, we can journey backwards in time and we can journey forwards in time. So when we journey backwards in time, we might be able to meet with ancestral beings. And when we journey forwards in time, we can meet with the descendants. And that is the major focus of our time together tonight. We want to go into the future to the descendants of our species and see how they're living. Now, this implies that there is a future for our species, which, yes, I do see there being one. Now, the Egyptian goddess Isis, through my own mentor, trauma therapist and psychotherapist Sandra Ingerman, the Egyptian goddess Isis has pointed out that the future is created from the present. And so I do not hang my hat on predictions, really. I don't say that the way we look at the future now is how it's going to be. I don't make proclamations. I teach you how to discover things for yourself, for the most part. So the future that we see might be a very different one than the one we live in right now. And I think as we look out at the world today, that might be a rather welcome setting. When we look at what's going on in America today, we see sliding into an incredible amount of division. There's always been division in America. America has never been a united nation, but it's certainly not right now. When we look at some of the data that we have about what's going on in our climate, we're facing more intense heat waves. And those heat waves take actually an incredible number of lives. We're already seeing severe weather events, and those severe weather events will continue if we do not transition away from our dependence, our overdependence on fossil fuels. We see many millions of people around the world who are struggling with chronic and mysterious illnesses. And the conventional medical and psychotherapeutic fields, while truly invaluable in their own right, are not helping some folks get the healing they need. So when we journey into the future, we have the opportunity to see something different, to see how our descendants are living. What did they do to survive the times we're living in now? How did they improve things if we find that that's an improvement there down the line? We want to go to them and get that wisdom. Now, here's the trippy thing. In linear time, we're the ancestors. So they are alive because we found a way through, hopefully. We taught them the healing methods that they can teach to us. Now, if this sounds really trippy, it is, because we were not raised in a culture that really understands the unseen realms. You know, we do live in a world where, in the Western world anyway, we do live in a world where there's a lot of Christianity and people are raised with a belief in God, but maybe not spirits. Well, I raise you, what is God? And what is the soul, if not perhaps another kind of energy or another kind of spirit? So many of us already have an understanding that there are things out there that are real, but we might not be able to perceive with our ordinary senses. So I raise you, there are plenty of things that are real that we cannot perceive in our ordinary condition. Air, for one thing, that we're breathing, it's keeping us all alive. We can't see that in our ordinary condition, but it's very real. Gravity, keeping our feet on the floor right now. Can we see it in our ordinary condition? Not quite, but we can see the results of it. Sound, you're hearing me talk, hopefully. Otherwise, I hope you're enjoying the pantomime show. Now, that's something you can't see in your ordinary condition, but it is quite real. And so the point I'm trying to make is that, yes, this sounds a bit trippy, but it would actually be unscientific for us to write something off entirely just because it sounds trippy. Shamanism is not a path of belief, it is a path of firsthand experience. And so, what I'm hoping to do is to have us move into this expanded state where we can journey into the future to experience what it is that I am talking about firsthand. We can bring some of that knowledge and healing back here to the present time. So, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say for that specific subject. Let's see. I don't see any much more about that. I can talk more about skepticism of the unseen because actually I am a skeptic. I'm not a skeptic in the sense that I don't think it's real. If I didn't think it was real, I wouldn't be wasting my whole life doing it. But I think that skepticism to anything is actually quite healthy. And so that's a really rich subject that we can talk about later. And that's really where the magic of the shaman comes in. You can explore and test what I'm saying for yourself. So I do want to give us a taste of this shamanic journey, remembering again that the shaman is one who expands their state of consciousness or alters their state of consciousness. And in that expanded state of consciousness, most often makes journeys of a spiritual nature. We, by doing this, again, are not appropriating anybody's culture, for this is human inheritance, not a cultural inheritance. But it is also not proclaiming oneself as a shaman. In fact, even when you look at indigenous cultures, those who are shamans do not run around saying, I'm a shaman. Now, why don't they do that? Because in the traditional way of working, that is seen as bragging. And when you brag about having power, you get the big sure enough and you lose it. And then who can you help? And so in indigenous cultures, and even in our culture, one who practices shamanism does not call themselves a shaman. Should their community bestow that name upon them, that is another matter. But we do not take that name for ourselves. And certainly after doing one journey, we're not a shaman. After you pluck out one tune on a guitar or a piano or an oboe, you're not a professional musician, as it's been put, and I think that's quite true, by another teacher whose name I can't recall at the moment. But we are working in a way that is timeless, true way that is timeless. Shamanism is the world's oldest known spiritual tradition, known to humankind. So we are really drawing upon the oldest of the old as far as we know. Now, in our journey experience, which I'm going to prepare you for now, intention is very important. And in shamanic practice, I really advise my own students, because a lot of my time is spent teaching shamanic healing methodologies to others. I teach it. It's very important for us to have a clearly worded intention. Words have power. They open a different veil for us in the other reality. And so the intention that we're going to be working with tonight, which you do not have to remember, I just want to introduce it to you, is I am journeying far enough into the future to meet with descendants who work primarily with light and sound for healing. Okay, so we're being specific about the kind of descendants we want to meet that use primarily light and sound for healing, really evolved descendants of our species. Now, when we journey in the middle world, we know it's a bit of a mixed bag. You can open the news any day of the week and see that physical life here in ordinary reality is a mixed bag. There's beautiful things going on, and there's other things where we say, yikes, maybe I should just cancel my news subscription. So when we journey in the middle world, we take one of our divine spirits from either the upper or lower worlds with us, and they walk with us, they support us, and they show us these are the beings we really want you to talk to. They can kind of act as your vetters, where if there's a spirit that maybe you have a question about, you just lean over, you go, should I be talking to this one? They're like, yeah, maybe not, move on, okay, all right. And then you move on, you talk to someone you do want to talk to, just like ordinary reality. It's nothing to be scared about. If you see someone on the street you don't want to talk to, just move on. But you'll have one of your helping spirits, one of your personal helping spirits with you tonight. If you say, I don't know who that is, you don't have to know, because they know you, and they will walk with you in the journey when we call them in. A few considerations for how to get the most out of this journey experience. I will be guiding you. But this is an experience where, although I will guide you out there, what the descendants tell you and what they show you is actually very personal. It's individually tailored to what it is that you need at that particular time and the wisdom that you can bring back. So I'll get you there, but everything else that happens after that is up to them. So to really engage in that experience well, I do recommend having a calm space. That means you can turn off your lights, you can draw the blinds, you can close and lock your door. You can sit up for this experience or you can lie down. There is no one right way to journey. Although I will share as an anecdote that when you look at indigenous shamanic cultures, you really don't see them lying down to journey. That's a very Western thing. In indigenous shamanic cultures, shamans are dancing, moving, drumming. So I will invite you, if you feel called to move your body, to dance, to sing, to in other ways move your journey. Bring your body into the experience. Bring all your different senses into the experience. That's so rich. So create a calm space where you feel like you can move, you can really settle into this expanded state of consciousness. Now, the word shaman itself is often said to come from the Tungusic languages of Siberia. And the word itself does have different meanings that have been applied to it. But one of those meanings is one who sees in the dark. Now, that does not mean that shamans have built-in X-ray vision, although wouldn't that be cool? That would save me a lot on my electricity bill every month. What it means to me is that the shaman is one who sees what is ordinarily hidden in our condition. And so the shaman will often work at night. And in our culture, if we don't have or any culture really, where we don't have the luxury of a totally dark space, we can use an eye mask. Just like this, we can put something over our eyes. And what that does is that tunes out all of this extraneous stuff, all of these chaos variables, so that we can really focus on what's going on in our psychic senses. So if you have something that you would like to put over your eyes, even if it's just your elbow, you can go ahead and do that. If you have headphones that you feel might provide you an enhanced listening experience, I invite you to put those on. Now, as I was sharing, we do live in a culture that tells us that what we can't see, hear, feel, touch, taste, smell with our ordinary senses is not, quote, real. And yet many of those same people embrace a belief in God. And again, I rate you, we can't see the air, but it's real. We can't see gravity, but it's real. And there are plenty of things out there that are real that we might not be able to see with these eyes, which I have been told my eyes are actually very bad, but that's besides the point. So your ego, that part of you that perceives itself from separate from creation, might come in as a result of our social conditioning and say to you, you're nuts. You're making this whole thing up. This is bonkers. What are you doing? Now, if you fight with your ego, that's all you're going to do in the journey. So if your ego comes in, say, sure, you're right. And then your ego says, oh yeah, I showed them. And then it meanders off to its little corner so that you can have your journey. Just stay open to what happens for you. In that vein, there are many ways of perceiving spiritual information. We might see the information in our mind's eye almost like it's a daydream. We might feel it in our heart or in our hands or our stomach. We might hear it in our inner or outer ears. We might just know the information. We might taste or smell the information. Seeing is not always believing. And so we really want to keep all of our senses open in the journey itself. So before we begin, Garrett, would it be okay if anybody has any burning questions about journeying, would it be okay for me to take those? If not, that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does anybody have any burning questions about the journey? We'll have time for general questions later, but any burning questions? You can raise your hand or just unmute yourself. Ani Priya?
I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry. Can you journey into the past?
Yes, absolutely. Because when you do that shamanic journey into the unseen realms, they are not bound by our ordinary linear time and space constraints. So yes, we can journey into the past to meet with ancestors. We can journey forward to meet with descendants. Tonight we're focusing on the descendants, of course, but theoretically, when one is trained in journeying, they absolutely can go backwards in time. Great question.
Thank you.
Of course. Michael.
Yes, I have a question. How can we move forward to see our descendants? Wouldn't we be seeing our ancestors?
So we would move into the future to see our descendants, but we would move into the past to meet our ancestors.
So these are people who haven't been born yet?
Correct.
Oh, okay. I get it now. I get it now.
Yes.
So are we assuming that our answers would come from others? What about our own future selves and past lives and the selves from those lives? Is the wisdom coming from ancestors and descendants or other versions of our own selves?
Well, now, isn't that an interesting question? Because if we look at what shamanic cultures worldwide believe, there is a pretty strong belief in reincarnation. So is it theoretically possible that when we journey into the future to meet with the descendants, that we're actually meeting with ourselves reincarnated? Very much so. You could meet the reincarnated self of anybody on this Zoom if they're there and wish to connect with you. So the purpose of this journey is very singular. We're just looking at going to descendants. And in particular, these are descendants who use light and sound for healing. So it's a very specific type of person we're trying to meet. But they could be people we don't know. They could be people we do know reincarnated, because it's very, very far in the future. It could be ourselves. So that's one of the great mysteries of the work. I love that question. Michael, did you have another question? I see your hand up.
Oh, no, let me turn.
Okay.
I forgot to.
That's okay.
I apologize.
No, don't be. That's okay.
Okay, can I go to the bathroom quickly before we begin, or like if we all take a
go ahead.
2-minute break, because I want to be really focused when I do this.
Go. If anyone has to use the bathroom, now's a good time. But I will keep. We'll come back in maybe 2 minutes max, because we don't have too much time.
Garrett, we do have one person in the waiting room that I don't know by
No.
name. No? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Yep.
Does anybody else have I see Amanda, you have a hand up?
Yes. Hi. Will you be repeating the intention again when we start?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Of course. Anybody else have any other questions? Sebastian.
Yes, hello. I just I have a question that I'm not sure would be relevant, because I think I know what you mean. But when you talk about it being through sound and light, could you elaborate on that, or maybe give a stronger motivation?
Yeah, I love that you're asking this question. Me as a human wants to answer you really badly. But me as a shamanic teacher knows I probably shouldn't. And the reason I think I probably shouldn't is because I don't want to give you ideas of what you could experience and then have you come back from the journey and wonder, did I see that because told me I could, or because I really did. The best way I can describe it for now, as much as I wish I could go into more detail, is just that they are going to use light and sound to wish I could be afterwards. I can shun. Questions? Okay. And I will just say as an aside, Garrett, I don't mean to sound like a hard you know what, but I'm really, really clear on needing to keep people safe. If there's any way that you would actually be able to hang back from this journey and just watch the group and make sure that no one turns their camera on and is doing any funny business, that would be so appreciated.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so I'm hoping we have as many people back. See, my shamanic senses do not show me the other side of the Zoom screen, so I don't always know when people are back. But hopefully we have enough people back to do this experience. So for those of you that are, let's take a moment and get ourselves ready. Again, you can turn off the lights, you can draw the blinds, you can sit up, you can lie down, you can get your headphones or something to cover your eyes with. Anything that helps you to relax will aid you on this journey. I will be keeping my lights on so that you can see me. Please ensure you are muted. We really don't want any ringtones or background noise pulling the group out of their experience prematurely. If that happens, it's okay. We will deal with it. But everybody, no matter whether you think you're muted or not, just take a look at your screen right now and make sure you are. You can turn your camera on for this if you like, or you can keep your camera off. There is no right or wrong. Okay. So I am going to turn just a few lights off here for me, but not all of them. Okay. And Garrett, are you willing to just go through and make sure everybody's muted just to double check my work?
Yep.
Thank you.
Everyone is muted. I'll actually, do you want me to lock it so that no one can unmute?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay, done.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Oh, and do I have screen? Yes, I do. Perfect. Okay. So let's take a moment, stretch, loosening whatever feels tight, moving our bodies into that space in which we can just let go of our greater awareness of ordinary reality for a little while. And just like we did in the beginning, drawing in a few slow, deep breaths in and out through the nose. Filling the belly, and then filling the lungs. And on the exhale, letting it go from the lungs first, and then the belly. Beautiful. As we breathe in, expanding the belly, letting yourself fill with that life-giving oxygen, filling the lungs. And on the exhale, letting yourself come back to center. Resist the urge to check emails, reply to texts, or allow your mind to run too far away with the concerns of the day. Any thoughts about things that have happened later, or may happen later on, or have happened already today, or anything that may otherwise serve to move you out of a peaceful, centered state of consciousness. Let's imagine putting that concern or those concerns on an invisible shelf for just a little while. You can come back to them later if you like. But for now, giving yourself permission to settle where you are. Our bodies and our psyches carry us through so much in our lives. What a gift they are. But right now, we want to let our heart do the heavy lifting. So as we settle in, we feel our shoulders drop. Perhaps we feel our face soften, our hands and feet loosen and release. We feel the energy of our awareness and attention moving from our minds down to our hearts. With each breath in, the heart opens and expands. With each breath out, it comes back to center. You are a pillar of stability, strength, and centeredness. Any outside sound you hear, such as cars going by, dogs barking, little animals outside, any outside sound you hear only serves to move you deeper into your expanded state of consciousness. Any outside sound you hear only serves to move you deeper into your expanded state of consciousness. Now, as you breathe, in just a moment, with your eyes still closed, we're going to begin to hear the sound of drumming. And it is this drumming that will help to move your mind into that theta state of consciousness, that expanded state. And simply allow the drum to carry you. In some parts of the world, the drum is called the shaman's horse. So just allow the drum to carry you. Our intention as we work together is, I am journeying far enough into the future to meet with descendants who primarily use light and sound for healing. This journey will not be very long, maybe 15 minutes or so. And the sound of the drumming begins now. So, if for some reason the drumming is way too loud or way too soft, you can send me a chat and I'll do my best to adjust it. But we're just going to let the drum carry us. Feeling it taking our connection deeper. And in your heart or in your mind's eye, experiencing yourself, picking your body up, you're standing in the non-ordinary realms. And you make your way towards the door of the room in which you're in. And you notice that the door of the space has been replaced with a beautiful mist of your favorite color. And beyond this mist is a trail that leads us into the future. And with you will walk one of your personal helping spirits. And so we welcome that personal helping spirits to be with us now. Notice if something happens for you. Is there a feeling you get in your body when they draw near you? A vision that comes through like a daydream. A knowingness of who is with you or the power they carry. Who is the divine being joining you on this adventure? They smile at you with their energy. And you feel the love that they exude. They let you know that just on the other side of this mist is an incredible experience tailored just to you so that you can digest it in a good way. And so together, you and your spirit walk through the mist. And you find yourself on a beautiful dirt path with a grassy field to your right and pine trees to the left. Above your head are the endless cosmos of outer space. And beneath your feet is the cool gravel, kissing your shoes or your sandals or your toes. And you dance with your helping spirit up this path, knowing that it leads you to the future. And as you dance, you may hear yourself or your spirit singing a jubilant song. A song that may sound something like this. I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I'm opening, I'm opening, I'm opening, I'm opening, I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I'm opening, I'm opening, I'm opening, I'm opening. You and your spirit are dancing through the etheric realms outside of linear time and space. And at the end of this trail that you have now reached together, you notice that there is another body of mist, of a softer color this time. And together you step through to a different time, different world, different landscapes, different people. You are far enough in the future to meet with descendants who primarily use light and sound for healing. Taking a look around you, noticing if you see any people or beings that resemble people. What is the landscape like? Is there a smell or a temperature that you can feel or perceive? How does it feel to be here? If you see a descendant who your helping spirit points out to speak with, go ahead and walk next to them. If you do not perceive such a descendant, ask your helping spirit to take you to one. And as you are next to this descendant, what does their energy feel like? Are they alone? Or joined by others? We want to remember our manners. And so we introduce ourselves to this descendant. We explain to them that we are here from the past, seeking information that we, their ancestors, can bring back in order to improve the quality of the present and future. And so we ask them to show us, how is it that you live? How is it that you live? And noticing what experience unfolds sensorially for you. lives like? And can you show me how it is that you heal your people? What do you think about these methods of healing and living? What comes up for you? We have one final question we'd like to ask, which is, what actions can I take to cultivate a beautiful life for you, the Descendants? What actions can I take to cultivate a beautiful life for you? With this knowledge in hand, we thank our Descendants for their wisdom. And if you were inside, or even outside, you notice that your helping spirit begins to bring you somewhere a little bit different in this landscape. Place you on a blanket on the floor or a beautiful crystal bed. Wherever it is, they help you to lie down. And you feel yourself get settled. And you continue your calm breathing. These Descendants may have shown us a little bit about what methods of healing, if any, they use. And we say to the Descendants who we have spoken with, and who our helping spirit draws in, that we come from a time that is quite different from theirs. We struggle a lot with many personal and social maladies. And we know that everything that is alive. And that by our radiance, we help others radiate wellness as well. And so we say to these Descendants, thank you for now providing me a healing using your ways that that is for my highest good to receive at this time. Breathing and allowing whatever experience of healing unfolds to unfold for you. Allowing that healing that is occurring for you to be absorbed into every cell of your body, soaking it in like a flower absorbs sunlight, or the soil absorbs nourishing water, taking it into your bones, your organs, your cells. We thank the Descendants who have provided us with the knowledge and the healing that they have. And we express, if it is genuine, a willingness to implement what they have given us in our time, so that perhaps we may be remembered as good ancestors, and we may fulfill our sacred obligation to leave this world better than when we found it. And so you rise to your feet, fully empowered and vitalized. You say thank you to them and goodbye for now. You and your helping spirit turn around and walk through the mist again, finding yourself back on the path on which you came. The stars seem to be shining just a little bit brighter now, for we have helped ourselves, and we in turn can use that to help others. Your helping spirit with great glee in their energy at your healing and knowledge dance with you back down the path. As the two of you sing excitedly, I've opened up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I've opened up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I've opened, I've opened, I've opened, I've opened up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I've opened, I've opened, I've opened, I've opened. Your helping spirit, together with you, crosses the threshold of mist and back into your space. You make your way back to where you began the journey, sitting or lying down or dancing, and you have returned home. Welcome back, everybody. So as we're settling back, let's take a moment. We can stretch whatever needs to be stretched. If you have a notepad and a pen and you'd like to take down some notes from your experience, let's have just a couple minutes in silence to reflect, return our orientation fully to the world around us, and take some notes.
You want to take hands, Garrett?
I will in just a moment. I want to give
Notes.
people just
Okay.
a few minutes.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to turn on my lights here. So you can just take down the core points if you wish and fill in the rest later. It's entirely up to you. But we'll have maybe about 30 more seconds just to take some notes, and then we'll take questions. So again, welcome back, everybody. I do want to hear what questions you might have, absolutely, about your journey experience or anything that we have covered so far. But I also want to hear your journey experiences if you wish to share them. I want to hear what they told you about their way of living, their ways of healing, about something you could do to make the future better, maybe what kind of healing you received, any information that you would like to share. If you're going to share your journey, just do remember the economy of words. We do have a number of folks, and we want to make sure everyone has their time. So just remember to share the core points. If you have an experience and or question that you would like to share or ask, you can either put your hand up on the Zoom function itself, or you can simply unmute yourself and begin sharing. Michael.
Well, I didn't go through any mist and I did not meet Descendants.
Yeah.
But I did keep my eyes closed the whole time. And I was in a woods in a field where all the trees and the shrubs and the grasses were swaying to the beat in unison to the drum. And it felt like a very unified kind of experience. It was really pretty. It was really beautiful.
That's wonderful, Michael. You know, one of the great joys of being a teacher of shamanism is that what I say is actually on some cosmic level pretty unimportant in certain ways, because I can tell people how we're going to do it, and then the helping spirits can provide them a totally different experience. And the experience is uniquely tailored to what you need. So I tell people, if your experience is different from my instructions, go with your experience. That's the real thing. So I think the experience that you had is really quite beautiful, not only in the felt sense of unity, but in the actual metaphorical representation of unity. Everyone's swaying together. It's like nature's kind of, yeah. And the helping spirits with whom we speak, yes, they can speak literally, but they also often speak in metaphor. And so that movement of the grasses and the trees and the plants, that's really something to take note of. I think that's a really beautiful experience, Michael. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Of course. Craig. Let's see. I might be able to invite you to unmute. I know we put on the controls. Okay, you should have an invite now to unmute, Craig.
There we go, maybe.
Yes, we can hear you.
That was a pretty cool journey. Usually I don't do guided ones, but started out in the forest, and then I ended up in a cave, and then you mentioned a door. And of course there wasn't a door, but then I started going in, and then the fog filled in because you mentioned that. And then I had to go back for my guide, and I was taking off without him. And so then I proceeded, and then ended up in a wide open expanse, and I was on a cliff, and then you're talking about more fog, and I'm like, well, my guide's with me, and it's just a cliff, and it was all filled with pretty pink, so I looked kind of soft. So we went ahead and went over the edge. It was a long ways down and ended up in a valley, and then ended up going into a mine. And then I was in there with the guide and was like kind of like not seeing nothing. And then you mentioned the other people, and then all the walls lined up with people that were light people. And then so I went ahead and went to the one with wings, and basically my message was love and light, acceptance and awareness. That was what I was supposed to spread.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm just taking a few notes here on your experience because I think that's really incredible. You know, Craig, there's we were talking about the different worlds that shamans and shamanic practitioners journey to, the upper world, the middle world, and the lower world. And one of the ways that some people travel to the lower world, which is a divine realm, I call it the heavens below our world. There's heavens above and there's heavens below. They're both the same quality. And so for some people, when they reach the heavens below us, they jump off a cliff to reach that place. And so that's actually a classic shamanic experience that you had. And I had a teacher way back in the day. She offered a formula that I don't know if she ever stuck with, but I actually kind of liked it. Her formula was love plus light equals healing. Now that's quite something. And of course, in different spiritual traditions, we talk about love and light all the time. And so I'm not surprised that they would talk to you about that. But aren't those the kinds of principles that we need now? Don't we need a little bit more love? Don't we need a little bit more acceptance? Don't we need a little bit more embracing? That's what's going to keep our planet going. That's incredible, Craig. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for the leading. Like I said, usually I'm not much of a follower, and I really didn't do a whole lot of following, but I kind of did. You set the stage. I never walked into the fog, and I never took a guide with me. They were just there when I arrived.
Yeah. You had the experience that you were supposed to have, I think. Just same thing with Michael. If your experience is different from my instructions, you go with your experience. So that's perfect.
Oh, and then there was the other message. I was supposed to continue doing what they've been telling me because I was led to do wild edibles and medicinal. So I go out and forage, and I've been learning about herbs, oils, and salts. So it's like I'm just supposed to continue those things. That's another way I'm supposed to contribute is to show people that here and now, this is what's available.
Yep.
There's your meal if you're hungry.
That's
There's
right.
some really nutritious right over there.
That's right. That's right. There was one of the first books I got introduced to on this path is a book that I still love. It's called The Wind Is My Mother. It's a book by the late Bear Hart, who was both a spiritual leader within his indigenous American community. If I am not mistaken, his nation's name was Muskogee Creek or Muskogee Cree. And he was also at the same time a Baptist minister. And so he had two different worlds put together. And in this book, which he published in the 90s, if I'm remembering correctly, he told a story about how either his people or a group of people in South America, but I would hazard a guess it was his people, had a location in which a plant or other kind of herb grew, some natural feature grew that could heal diabetes. And now that particular location is aptly a parking lot. So when we look at all those ways that nature works for us and we remember them and we bring them in, wow, what a gift. Brilliant, Craig. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan. Oh, I might have to send you a unmute invite. Give me just a moment, Alan. And there you go.
People should be able to unmute themselves now.
Okay.
There. Thank you. Yeah, well, mine was like I just felt like I was dropped into a kind of like overlooking these hills, and there was a kind of valley, and I was just looking over this kind of it seemed almost like a tropical or maybe a desert of some sort. But there was, as you were guiding me along, I didn't really have a guide with me, but then all of a sudden I started feeling strength and power beside me. And I felt there was someone there, but I couldn't see it, and I could once in a while I could feel like a leather jacket or something solid there, and it just kind of exuded strength. And I was waiting for that the healing medicines or healing thoughts, but I just got the feeling the whole world was the healing for me. And I went further through, and as you said, the mist, but I didn't see that much mist, but I ended up going through something, and it just felt like this world is the strength.
Yeah. Well, I'm noticing that there are some common threads that are appearing in these experiences, and one of them is that the mist is absent in all the ones that have been shared, at least to some degree. And so, if I'm understanding you correctly, Alan, what you're sharing is that rather than the descendants or another kind of force actively employing a healing method on you, it was more being in that landscape itself that was the healing.
Yes, yeah, and I felt that this being that was with me, my guide, had tremendous strength, but like I just didn't understand it. I didn't understand what type of strength it was, but
Yeah.
it felt strong, hard, but it was also kind of like caring, accepting. So
Yeah. Well, that's what our helping spirits exude. They exude acceptance. You know, if they're not ego, and the ego is the thing that judges, you know, and they're egoless beings, then how could there be any judgment? There can only be acceptance. And I think I do not interpret anyone else's journeys because everything that happens in a journey is uniquely tailored to them. But I know within myself, I'm finding it very interesting that the being in the landscape was the healing for you. And I wonder if there is an additional metaphorical message in that, that being out in nature is healing, that being out in, quote, the wild is healing, just like we were talking about with Craig, how the use of the natural medicines for healing, well, being out in the world itself can be quite healing. That's a really beautiful experience, Alan.
yeah, I kind of like asked to be healed, to feel whatever I needed to heal, and then I kind of passed out. Like I don't know, I just kind of woke up after you're saying, okay, open open your eyes, and I don't know what happened during the experience.
Yeah. Well, you might not know what happened, but the spirits know. And I have seen it before that and learn from my own experiences that sometimes when people do an exercise like this, they will actually be put to sleep temporarily. And my theory on that and my learning on that is that the spirits move us to sleep to move our ego aside so that we are truly fully available for that work that they wish to do with us. So that sleep, not only is it restorative for the body and mind, but it actually can move you out of the way so that you can get more healing.
And I kind of feel like I'm okay. That's just the thought. But it's like no one's telling me, but I just feel, hey, things are okay.
Yeah. And what a beautiful feeling.
It is. It is.
A feeling contrary, unfortunately, to what many folks are feeling today. But that's what we deserve, is to feel accepted, to feel okay. That is the true state of our spirit. So thank you so much, Alan. That's really rich. Anupriya. Let's see. If you're, let me send you an invite, right? Yeah, okay, hold on.
I don't know why it's not letting you unmute.
The techno gods are saying you didn't journey to us.
Okay, got it.
Really?
Finally, yeah.
You turn it on and off again.
No, am I audible?
Yeah, now you're audible. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I really enjoyed this, first of all, because I am extremely so I love music, and when I heard the drum and when I heard you sing, my heart was just happy. And today is not a good day for me. Like, it's a very tough day, it's a tough evening. So I think that really was like a beautiful melodic experience, a percussive experience. When it comes to imagery, I was not honestly able to imagine a lot. There was a lot of resistance and pain, especially like in my stomach, because I'm going through something very difficult right now, like a very difficult transition, both logistically and emotionally. However, some answers did come through. So I, of course, requested my descendants to guide me, to lead me. When you mentioned that, you're walking through the mist and there's colors, there's doors, I imagined whatever you said, but it's not like any imagery showed up in my mind. And maybe that's because I'm a very analytical, logical thinker, and I'm a musical person. I know the music impacted me, but the answers showed up. For instance, I'm in an apartment hunting process, and my prospective roommate wants to live in one area. So whatever, some negotiations happening, and the answer showed up of what exactly to tell her I can and can't do. And then I'm going through an emotional, relational process with someone I'm very, very close to as well. And particularly today, I was feeling a lot of heaviness around it, and the answers came about what that person needs and where I need to expand. So I feel like some answers showed up in terms of me getting, I don't have clarity of what exactly to do still. I'm in a complex situation, but there was clarity in terms of, okay, I know you're going through these two processes and they're parallel processes, and this is difficult for it in its own right, and this is difficult in its own right. One is emotional, one is logistical, and they're both very difficult. So I guess answers came through imagery wise, not a lot. The music was phenomenal. I mean, the drums and your singing was so amazing. Yeah, I would like to go into deeper emotional realms, into my unconscious, and see visions and people. That didn't happen, but some answers came through, so I'm grateful. As a first try, this was great.
Yeah, that sounds like a perfect first try to me. One of the things that we have, my colleagues on Shamanic Teachers, which is a alliance, one of the biggest challenges my colleagues and I have is people who will say, I didn't see anything, and so I didn't have a journey. And that's not what you're sharing, but it's in a similar vein. They say, I didn't see anything, so I didn't journey. And what I think in response is, well, if we didn't have our eyes, we still have all these other senses. And so for those that are analytical, the information might come through what we call their claircognizance, their clear knowing, where it comes out of the blue. It might come clairaudiently for those that are musically inclined, something you hear in the outer world or through your inner ears. In fact, my teacher who I mentioned earlier, Sandra Ingerman, has been journeying and teaching shamanic work worldwide for 40 years, and she does not see in her journeys. There are no visuals. There is no nothing that she sees. She feels and hears the experience because those are the senses that she's most naturally inclined to. And so her journeys are no less real than anyone that sees. The same thing is true for you. So, people will sometimes say, how do I know I'm not making my journeys up? And my response is because they get results. When we look at shamanism in indigenous cultures, the shaman actually did not have the luxury of being a charlatan because shamans were depended upon to heal people, to divine food sources, to, in some ways, keep the community alive. And the shamanic cultures within which these shamans worked were not always so gracious, nor should they have been. That in some cases, if shamans could not divine food sources and not heal the people, it's not that they simply weren't consulted and people went elsewhere. They were killed. They were executed. They had their lives depended on whether or not their work got verifiable information that could be fact-checked as accurate in their own ways, and whether they got measurable healing results. And so my response to those people that say, well, I didn't see anything, is that's just as great a journey as anybody else's. The bottom line is not how you get the information, it's what the information does for you. Does it make a meaningful impact on your life? Is it verifiably accurate? Does it create some kind of measurable healing? So I think you had a beautiful experience, and I so appreciate you sharing that because I'm sure there are many others who had a similar kind of experience. There was one more thing I wanted to share was going through a difficult transition. I am myself apartment hunting right now. So I know I actually spent today about 4 or 5 hours on Zoom doing apartment tours and asking the same questions over and over. And I know what that's like. So my heart goes out to you. And some of us, when we are in that really challenged state of consciousness, it can be hard for us to get really clear. And so that might be where we need to listen to some rattling before we do the drumming or do some deep breathing. And so there's ways to mitigate that, but that's for a different, that's for a longer program. I think for now, what I'll say is I really love what you shared, and I think it illuminates a very important principle of shamanic work. Yeah, thank you. Mandy, I see your hand next. And just in case, I will send you an unmute invite, just in case.
Fantastic. Yes, I was trying to unmute. Can you hear me?
I can, loud and clear.
Oh, I'm just bloody flabbergasted. I am. I know there's certain things about me, but growing up in England, you know, we learn about the fairies and everything. So I understand that there's a part of that world, and that I know about the trees and the language. But I haven't been really keen in wanting to help anyone. Oh, I don't believe this. I'm interested. I don't understand what's just happened, because you don't know me. So I don't understand how all this came up for me. You started with the guide. I'm always interested in the human and the feminine and the masculine aspects of the self. So this guide that came was a man, but it was me. Like, now I'm in the masculine form. Everything's okay, great, blah, 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 going along. It's all England. Like, for me, there's nothing more beautiful than the countryside there. And I come across something that I don't even know if it was Lord Shiva Shakti, which is like the masculine feminine. I'm just blown away at this. And they said to me that the answer is Yorg, and I'm not interested in that. But now I feel that this is a sign from them that whether I like it or not, this is the path. Because I've not been interested in yoga or whatever, because it's just been so diluted.
Yeah.
And they're telling me that the way through it all is that there is no other way.
Yeah.
And I have not been interested in getting into that because of whatever. So when I lay down, you said lie down, you're getting the healing. They were not interested in giving me any healing. They were not interested. They said, no, you know how to do it. Now you better start learning. I mean, this is this is the British way of talking. I mean, I don't listen to anybody unless you're like, you know, right in there. So I'm just flabbergasted. First, like seeing Lord Shiva, I'm just already blown away. Never in my right there and telling me this is it, and kind, loving, everything's great. And just going back to my guide is me in the masculine form. I am just blown away.
Yeah. I'm blown away for you. That's an incredible experience. I mean, when we journey in that realm, we are outside of our ordinary laws. And so we can meet ourselves as a different gender expression.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say that it was, and so many things have been happening, and I'm not really paid much attention to it, but it all came into my face all at once. Yeah. And it said that, because it's only yesterday, another video on Freethinker Institute. They had posted just yesterday, I think it was about learning. And in there, they had mentioned meditation. So I watched another one on the same website. And something to do with smell, like I was burning incense as well. And it's like, I'm just actually, I'm blown away. I don't understand that, who somebody knew something, but it was so clear for me. And I did have to sit, and I had to really let go of myself, because I have that piece of me which is saying, what a load of rubbish. Here we go again. And because there have been so many people out there who say they do this, but they don't. I can already feel the energy that it's not legit. Like, you're legit, Garrett. Unbelievable. Yeah, I feel, yes, thank you. But the singing piece of it, did not work for me because I felt that it had to be in another language. So if you could learn Celtic or maybe Welsh language, or maybe something to do with your ancestors, it will resonate better because each language has vibration. And English, Old English, the vibration was still higher. The newer English, the vibration is not as high. So if you could, yeah. Sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
it's okay.
I'm not going to talk.
Oh, no. I was just acknowledging what you were sharing. I was not cutting you off.
Yeah.
Well, I think what you shared is really, really beautiful, incredible. One of the brilliant things about journeying into spirit is that we can control how we act, whether we go left, whether we go right, whether we talk to this spirit or journey over here, but we don't control how they interact with us. And so these spirits, we don't always choose them. Sometimes they choose us. Mm-hmm. And so Lord Shiva choosing you, that's a brilliant example of this. And that we go in and we can experience things other than our preconceived notions about what we're going to experience, which shows us the power of shamanic journeying. I think what you experienced was really beautiful. And the fact that you don't want to do what they asked you to do, to me, is also kind of classic to the work, because so often the helping spirits, these divine beings, they want what is different from what our ego wants in some situations. Mm-hmm. And so it's not uncommon for us to go and say, oh God, I hope they say this. And then we come back from the experience and we go, oh, fine. So I think then the question, if this were my journey, my question that I would think about is, okay, so they want me to do yoga. They really want me to get into this. How can I do this in a way that really brings me joy? Is it maybe that just doing the postures is what I'm supposed to do, which is hatha yoga? Am I supposed to do something separate from hatha yoga, maybe more in the realm of Patanjali's work?
No, I know with yoga, you can't just, like, the asanas are only the smallest bit of it.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of other stuff. There's like 8 pieces of it. I have to be fully immersed into this. Otherwise, I am not going to be healed until I go through this myself. And that's where, the piece of free will, like, am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it?
Yeah, right. I know we have the free will choice to make a decision. Sometimes the universe...
But I'm scared. So I think I have to do it.
Well, I think I understand. I understand. In traditional shamanic cultures, if a person didn't follow the call, for example, to be a shaman, some hardships would come up for them. And hardships is sometimes putting it lightly. And so, you do have free will. If you really don't feel like that's your path, you could always negotiate with them. But I would be really curious about where this might bring you. And as I was sharing, shamanism has survived well over 100,000 years around the world, not because we were so bored that this is just something we came up with, but because it works. And so I would be really interested if you're willing to keep me posted over time. My email's on the event description for this. Keep me posted on what results happen for you, because I'd be really curious. For example, I saw Anupriya sent a message here in the chat that a small miracle just happened for them with their apartment hunt. Whether that was connected to the journey or not, who knows? But we like when we see results. And when it happens in an environment like that, something like what happened with Anupriya, it's really quite interesting. So I hope you keep in touch and let me know how these things go and if there's anything I can do to support you.
Yeah, most certainly. Thank you so much.
Of course. I understand being scared, but if the divine spirits are pushing you or nudging you, sometimes they push us, but if they're nudging you on the path, there's something really beautiful there for you.
Yeah. I'm blown away. Thank you. Thank you.
Our pleasure. I do see Zoom user, but I did see Sebastian's name come up first, so I do want to go to them. So I will just send them a little invite here, just in case. I know they probably don't need it, but just in case. And then I know we, let's see, we've got about maybe 15 minutes left. Okay.
I think they probably do need it, even though the setting is set to allow people to unmute. It doesn't seem to be working. So,
I see.
No, you know what? I think it was my mistake. It should work now. Okay.
I was just assuming that maybe the techno gods were
No, no,
frustrated.
no.
You didn't journey
It
to
was my
them.
fault.
So, poor jokes aside, I appreciate it, Garrett. Thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. Sometimes the techno gods are against us, but this time it was Garrett Lang's fault.
Well, it's very nice that for once in my life something isn't my fault. That's really nice. Sebastian.
Yes. Hi. Okay. So I went really deep into it because I really wanted to find something within my mind to be guided by it, and I was, but it was more based on connections that I was making throughout the process of being in stillness than anything else. But I'll see if I can briefly talk about it because I do want to give others the chance to maybe ask questions afterwards. I don't know because you mentioned that you're going to have a Q&A as well, but I'll try to briefly say what it is that I think I felt. So I'm very interested. Obviously, I joined this group because I'm also very interested in shamanism and visionary techniques, but more so, I am also interested in the social dilemmas of the day and the sort of what is termed the meta crisis. And so I'm a very sensitive person, so I feel as though, even though I have an intellectual side to me, I feel as though we really can't intellectualize our way out of a crisis, happening on the level that it is. But as for what I felt through this experience, I tried to bring myself to a level where I myself was integrating parts of, even though it was supposed to be out of time, I don't think it's exclusive to time, or I don't think it excluded the possibility of using let's say your memories that have escaped you, or dreams that have escaped you, as not being part of it. I think in that realm all those things sort of converge and are available, and you can look at them freely and sort of reevaluate and have a different perspective on what they mean. And as for me, well, at first when I started going into this mental space, I started remembering dreams. I always nap throughout the day. Even though I sleep, I try to sleep at night. I am always taking naps, and there are times when I dream things and I forget them as soon as I wake up. But through contemplation, I tend to remember them. And there was one dream that I had earlier today that I thought, wow, this is very bizarre, because it was a very vivid dream. I was in this space that I couldn't really, I've never been in this space. It was a space that was interesting because it felt like it was a communal space. It felt like, I don't know where this was or where this space could have possibly been. But for me, it was my imagination. It seems like it was my imagination at work. And in this space, in this vivid dream that I remembered, I could feel a certain amount of air, sort of mental air, passing through me, that had to do with song and music, and it was, the reason I used the word air is because it felt like it was, just sort of playing in the background of the space. It didn't seem as though it was coming from any particular point. But the reason I found this interesting, I don't know why, is because in the dream, it seemed as though, like what, those times when you can't remember a song because you can only remember let's say the melody, so you make up lyrics. I use this is the metaphor that I think I came out of the dream with, but I didn't have that insight when after I woke up and initially and had the dream. But in contemplating, and these were just thoughts that were coming through my head, while I was in that stillness. There are times when I really, really work really hard and try to force myself to remember a dream, because there's times when you know you dreamed but you can't remember it, and you just fail. But this dream came back to me, and it came back to me very vividly. And it was, well, that was my personal experience. Now, what did I take out of that, that maybe of use to the rest of the group, maybe as an implication of what I think it means in this moment? I would have to say that, you know, I think the interesting thing about music that I think I find interesting, lyrical music, anyways, is that, you know, I think it's the only piece of our culture, the only real expressive format in which we don't have to understand in order to understand. In other words, if the music is filling in this sort of participatory kind of energy, where you can hum along, and then you can make words out of it, or you can multiple ways of even matching the music, then the melody to lyrics, and it's all kind of in some sense half introspective, if you so wish to. It's only this culture that we have today where we think that there's only one way to there's only one way where you can match sound to words, or that there's no kind of ambiguity in that. I think that's one of the things that we have not really understood about language. And for me, I think that's what I think that's what I came out of, because I was really in the very deep back of my mind, I was still trying to keep the metaphor of the future and the future descendants. What do they know? What do they know that we only have an inkling of today? Because it really does seem like music is transcendent. I don't think you can reduce it to if we have a culture in which science tells us every fact there is to know about descriptive reality. This has no bearing at all on what song and music and art does more generally. I think, but music for me, I don't know. It's just I think the deepest barrier that we have to, I think, overcome if we ever want to get to this place in the deep future where healing happens on a visceral level, where there's no logic involved in it, at least in the way that we understand it today. I think it has to come first through this. I think all that I took out of this experience
Try to finish your
is what,
thought, Sebastian, if you could.
sure, is what I believe everyone personally would first have to go through and would first have to understand as a first step to getting there. I think that's all that I would say, because I really just wanted to briefly sort of put it out there what I think happened to me. But the explanations, I mean, that can come from anybody, and I'll leave it open to now to the.
Well, I appreciate you sharing everything that you shared. Shamanic journeys very often do happen metaphorically, and sometimes they are literal. And the experienced shamanic journeyer knows how to distinguish metaphor from something that is more literal. So I think if you want to dive into that exploration, taking a beginning journeying workshop with either myself or one of my colleagues and shamanic teachers, it's not an advertisement, just an invitation. If you do want to explore more about this metaphorical way of working and the use of sound to kind of explore what might be out there for us, that is quite real, even if presented as a metaphor, that could be a really rich exploration. So thank you so much, Sebastian. It was wonderful to hear from you. So Garrett, I know we have about 8 minutes left. So how many more people do you think we can reasonably get to?
I mean, I'm I'm happy to go up until 9, so feel free to keep calling on people.
All right. So if you have a question, you can put it in the chat or you can raise your hand. And I'll just go with some of the hands I have here. Michael, I do see you. I have Zoom user on my screen first. So Zoom user, would you like to briefly share your experience or your question with us?
Um, oh, okay. Are you talking to me?
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Your name
Okay,
says Zoom
awesome,
user,
awesome,
just so you know.
awesome. Okay, yes, yes, yes. Okay, so during my experience, I was in a circle as a spirit with at least another spirit. We were floating around in a circle. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we were on top of a fire, perhaps, but I know that we were in a circle. Um, I didn't really get a whole bunch of other imagery. However, I did see flashy blue lights going back and forth in my like vision. So I did see flashy blue lights. I did see um I did see like a blue, let's say call it a pillar of light
Mm-hmm.
structure, and maybe it formed something that looked like the structure of a perhaps a box, something I've never seen before, never seen it really before. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Not sure what that means.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll stop it there.
I appreciate you sharing a lot. You know, one of the rich things about shamanism is that I actually have no clue what that experience means either. And that's one of the cool things is that everything that happens in that journey is uniquely tailored to the journeyer. And so we would have to ask your helping spirits what that means for you, because it
And
could mean something totally different for me. And so
and
that's mhm.
sorry. I've had an awakening in 2023. It started with me seeing not repeated number patterns, and
Mhm.
boy, oh boy, a lot has happened since.
Yeah.
Oh my, we don't have time to talk about it. But that's why I'm here,
Yeah.
because I have questions
Yeah.
about the nature of reality,
Yeah.
about this world that we live in.
Yeah.
What is what is this place?
Right.
What is this?
Well, I think philosophers have been debating that for a long time. So you're in good company. You know, my job is pretty easy as a teacher because when people come with big questions, I have one answer, and the one answer is journey on it. And so when we learn how to take shamanic journeys for ourselves, we have the ability to go and ask the helping spirits these questions and get these answers for ourselves. So again, just for the group, I really do invite you to take a look and see if there is an online or in person in your area beginning shamanic journeying workshop happening from either myself or one of my colleagues on shamanicteachers.com. We were trained to teach this work by Sandra Ingerman for this culture. It's really incredible work. So I'll be teaching it online coming up later this winter, but there's many opportunities. So that's a big question. I personally wish I knew the answer for myself, but I don't. And I think that's one of the things that makes life so much richer. We have a lot to explore out there, and there's a lot of love willing to explore it with us.
Yes.
If I could just throw out there, we also had an event where I presented on the meaning of life, which I would argue is about, why are we in this world? And you may check out our YouTube video on that because I think I have a reasonable answer to that. The Cliff Notes version is spiritual growth and development is why we're here. So learning knowledge and wisdom.
There's a lot to learn.
A
There
lot
is.
to learn.
Yeah, unlimited amounts to learn. So we got to
Yeah,
learn the
like
lessons we're ready to learn in this life, and then we'll move on, like
I
Garrett said, to the next life, and then we'll learn the lessons we need to
interesting.
learn in that life.
Yes.
Very
And if
interesting.
and if we choose not to learn, we're going to suffer until we learn, and that's what I call hell on earth. So better to learn.
Isn't that the truth? Well, thank you both for all that you shared. I do want to
Thank
make sure
you.
we have enough time for Michael. Michael,
Yeah.
you're the final voice with the microphone.
Okay, I just want to know if you've ever heard of Anna Breitenbach.
No.
She's an animal communicator. Breytenbach. And I actually was pretty dubious about her.
Yeah.
Until I started seeing what she did.
Yeah.
And it is amazing. Look up Anna Breitenbach and Diablo the Panther. It's absolutely amazing. And what she does with other animals, talking about having a common spirit and being able to communicate with all of creation. This woman is remarkable.
That's beautiful. It's very shamanic. First of all, the assertion I was dubious of her until I saw what she did, that's my exact philosophy. And if I had my way, that's kind of how everybody would approach religion and spirituality. Is do I experience it to be true? Do I experience it to be, does verifiably accurate information come through that can be checked? Is there a measurable healing that can happen, particularly when conventional means, while completely irreplaceable, conventional means have not been able to touch this particular physical or psychological health challenge? That's really what I think shows us that there's more to life than this. And experiences like the one you're describing, we are all one. And we all have what I believe is the equal ability to commune with the spirit that lives in all things. And so Anna communicating with Diablo, that is patently shamanic and something that is available to all of us if we open our hearts. Beautiful, Michael. Thank you so much.
And good luck with your apartment search.
I will need all the luck. Thank you so much. Thanks, Michael. So I think we're at the end. Garrett, did you have any last words that you wanted to add?
No, I had something just a second ago, but I lost it. So I'll just yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Well, I want to thank everybody so much for their willingness to be present here in Circle. Again, we are coming from many different parts of the world. We're coming from different races. We're coming from different ethnic backgrounds. We're coming from different religions. We're coming from different ages. But when you take all of that human experience, which is itself quite valuable, away, who we are is all one. And I think that if we are to leave our descendants a world that they can actually use and be grateful to us for, the sooner we realize that we're all one, underneath it all, that we're all one, we can leave our descendants a life that they will thank us for. And we can create a better present and future for all of life. So thank you so much all for being here. Visit us on shamanicteachers.com. We have people all around the world who are ready to teach this ethical and loving and effective work. And thank you so much for being here. So many blessings to each and every one of you.
And Garrett, thank you very much
Thank
as well.
you.
And I did remember the thing that I was going to say, which is agreeing with shamanism, is that both Buddhism and Stoicism hold reason as the highest good. And the Buddha himself said, don't believe anything that you're taught in your religious books or by your religious teachers. You should believe what you believe to be true based on your own experience and knowledge and reason. So, thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you, Garrett, for teaching, and great to see you again. And thanks everyone for coming and participating in your great questions and comments. And thanks for your patience with the Zoom bombers. We all have our spiritual growth and development, and they're young souls, right? And they're young in their body, and we were all kids once and did stupid things. I still remember throwing a snowball at the school bus, which I got in trouble for. So we have all done our stupid things when we were kids. Yeah, I was a good kid, but sometimes, we all have our moments, and they had theirs tonight. So thank you all, and hope you all have a good rest of your night.
Blessings, everyone.
Bye.
See you again. Good night.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.